Welcome to the Pretin and Sexton podcast. I'm Gabriel Sexton alongside my co-host,
Preston Duville.
your boy Preston DeVille. And today we're going to be talking about overrated movies and underrated movies, which I think are very vital, very opinionated. So
Yeah, very opinionated, so I'm already expecting people to come at me for some of my opinions.
yeah, we're opinionated people, especially about movies.
Pretty much about everything, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we had an intellectual debate not 30 seconds before this, but it was heated. So, boy, Preston, I think. Do you want to start off with overrated movies or underrated movies? Do you want to
I think we should go ease our way into underrated and then just start hitting them with the overrated.
Okay. Well, what's an underrated movie you have?
So, this is a movie I've talked about before, but I just have to bring it up because it's just unacceptable that it's only a 7.5 on IMDb's rating. And I got Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie,
Toxic.
I love this movie. It's weird, but weird in a good way.
Well, I hope it's not weird in a
And
bad way.
And it's funny, and I don't know. I just love this movie.
Okay.
Like, just the thought, just like the plot of a guy having to face, like, this one chick's, like, 6 or 7 evil exes in like a Mortal Kombat style fight is just mind-blowing to me. It shouldn't be good, but it is.
It is. I agree with that because I've seen it a couple times. I wouldn't say I've seen it more than probably about 3-4 times, but I've seen it a couple times. I like it. I wouldn't dare to say it's great, but I don't think it's bad at all.
It is peak fiction.
Quite the bold take to start. I really like that movie because Michael Cera feels so right in that part. You know, like it just makes sense. Like he's this awkward kind of teen-ish young guy.
Plus, I mean, he's actually a rock star in real life, I guess. Like, he has a band.
He does have a band. He can play the guitar. He has Spotify music. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that.
Did you listen to Michael Cera?
I listened to Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera.
Wow.
But I don't listen to Michael Cera.
What's stopping you?
Honestly,
Michael Cera?
I don't know. I just really haven't listened to Michael Cera.
That's fair.
Like, I got so much other music to listen to, I just don't ever get around to it.
He's a busy man, folks. He does not have time for no Michael Cera band.
You know, between just this podcast and in school, you know, it's just so much time.
Yeah, and all these dates he's going on with women.
Yeah.
Ladies, that's not true. Feel free to hit my boy Preston up anytime.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
Well, I'm no better, so, you know, real knows real, single knows single.
There's a reason we're making this podcast.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I'm going to say one of my underrated movies is Megamind.
Okay.
You know what, people kind of lump it in with like Monsters vs. Aliens, and it's actually really good. I really like Will Ferrell as Megamind, and Brad Pitt as Metro Man is terrific because he just fits that sort of like hero, kind of a dick, douchebag type guy with his voice, and it's got a great message actually. I think that was ahead of its time, and that is... Do you want me to say it, or do you want me to leave it a secret?
No, you say it, because I haven't seen the movie.
I think just because you're nice to women does not mean that they are obligated to be yours.
Okay, that was not the message I was expecting that movie
From
to be
Megamind?
about.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're watching Megamind tonight. You're going to love Megamind. I really like it. It's an underrated movie from DreamWorks. I would say it's one of their top 5 works.
I could see that. I've seen like the rankings of what other people usually rank their movies, and yeah, it's usually in the top 5.
I would say it's...
Not quite Shrek
4.
or Kung Fu Panda, but it's...
Oh, I think you go branching off. Like you go Shrek, probably Kung Fu Panda,
Shrek 2.
Shrek 2, Megamind, and then random assorted DreamWorks movie. Maybe Spirit.
I bet How to Train Your Dragon. I heard that's kind of like a fan favorite.
Have you ever watched it?
I've seen the first one, but it was a long time ago.
I remember seeing the second one, and then the third one I passed out. I slept through. I don't. I know it was good. I think it was good. I wasn't awake for it.
That would be a good episode idea. Top 5 movies you slept through.
The first time I saw Thor Ragnarok, I slept through it. And
what did you just say?
I was exhausted.
There is no excuse you could make to make that justifiable.
I'm not kidding you. I swear, I went and saw it on a Tuesday. I got in the theater. I was so relaxed. I slept through like almost the whole movie. I really like Thor Ragnarok. It's like one of my favorite Marvel movies. Arguably one of my top 20 movies. I slept through that bitch so bad.
Okay, makes sense. I've fallen asleep during some pretty good movies just because, I'm exhausted.
You just, sometimes in the theater, because now they got those dream loungers.
They got those dream loungers and like a nice soft thing. And you start, like, you eat a little bit too much popcorn in the previews. Yeah, I could see it.
You're sleepy. And then I don't know. Sometimes you bring I'm always a big fan when you see people walk in with blankets. You're like, oh, they're having a good time. You're like, oh, that's so fun. Preston, what's an underrated movie you have?
Okay, so I wouldn't say this one's underrated by any means. Like, it's pretty highly... It has some pretty high reviews. It's an 8.5 on IMDb, so I mean, it's like in their top 100 movies. But I just don't feel like it's talked about. And that's Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. Like, yes, everyone knows that this is a good movie, but when you talk about how good, like, when you talk about the great movies, for some reason it never gets brought up. Like, this is Christopher Nolan's, like, debatably the best project he's made.
Do you want to know something funny?
Huh. You have it on there?
I have it, yeah. I wrote, that's funny you mentioned that. I love The Prestige. With Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson, Michael Caine.
Like, it's so good. Like,
I don't understand how people haven't seen this movie.
Yeah, like, if you haven't seen this movie, get with the program.
I have a funny story about that movie.
Like, I was like, okay, this looks good. I'm gonna watch it. I wasn't expecting it to be like, great. Nah, my jaw dropped. My jaw completely dropped when. I don't want to get into the ending because it's a great ending.
It is a twist.
It's a typical Christopher Nolan like twist.
It was so good. Hugh Jackman is goated forever. Always will be.
Hugh Jackman is good in the movie, but I'd say Christian Bale was the best in the movie.
And that's the thing with The Prestige is you think of Christopher Nolan classics. And The Prestige doesn't even come to mind.
No, they're like, there's The Dark Knight, there's Inception.
Dunkirk.
Was Interstellar a Christopher Nolan movie?
I think so, yeah.
You got Interstellar. People are just like, oh, I guess there's The Prestige. Like, nah.
No, The Prestige
The Prestige
really
is up there in terms of, like, greatness with those other movies. Like, for me, it's the second best Christopher Nolan movie.
It's that good.
Like, it's no Dark Knight, but I've seen, like, Inception, stuff like that. Liked Inception. Inception's also really good. But
it's really good.
The Prestige I thought was better.
I agree. It's a little more down to earth, and I always like I don't like when movies get too convoluted and complicated. Like, The Inception is one of those movies where you gotta watch it the whole time.
Yeah.
You look away for 5 minutes, you won't know what's going on.
It's a movie you have to watch almost 2 to 3 times just to understand it. Like,
it's it's a dream. To paraphrase Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. It's a dream within a dream that's going on in a dream that's also part of a dream. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So again, what's your second one then? Was it The Prestige?
Yeah, it's got to be The Prestige. Just. It's so weird. The only way to put it is that it's so weirdly not talked about. Like, there's, like, romance in there. There's, like, there's science
twists,
fiction.
There's feuds. There's family feuds. There's, like, there's everything.
There's foreshadowing in there, too, quite a bit.
There's, like, attempted murder. There's murder.
I was going to say attempted. It's very clever and different, and that's why when I think of really good Christopher Nolan movies, I think of The Prestige for sure. And it's like I said, there's a lot of big names in here, And we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a top 100 movie in my opinion.
Like, you got Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, and ScarJo. Like,
and Michael Caine. I swear Michael Caine's in the movie.
Oh, he probably is because it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
He's in every single one. Michael Caine. Yes. I do like that movie. I swear David Bowie's in there too.
I'm searching it up right now because I want to make sure we're not missing.
I think Bowie is Tesla.
Yep, Caine is in there. David Bowie is Tesla.
That's what I thought.
Andy Serkis is in it. It's like Andy Serkis, one of my favorite actors. But yeah, other than that, that looks to be about for everyone who's like a huge name.
Yeah. I completely agree that this is a underrated movie, just in the fact that when we think of classics, this should be up there. Like, how can you say Inception and Interstellar are really, really good and then fail to mention The Prestige? I don't get it. I never will.
Wait, are you ready to put Christopher Nolan as kind of like a top 5 director at this point?
Nolan versus Michael Bay.
Like,
not Michael Bay.
Nah, he's what Michael Bay.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Like, you could make a case that Christopher Nolan's a top 5 director just by looking at like his whole every.
He's
movie
never made a bad movie.
Like, he hasn't made a bad movie. It's like Tenet was like not great, but it was still a good movie.
I never saw Tenet. It looked very.
I'm basing it off reviews because I haven't also seen Tenet, but like it has a good rating by both critics and like listeners. So I mean,
did you ever watch Dunkirk?
I have seen Dunkirk.
I liked Dunkirk,
and it was really good.
It was very good.
Did he do 1914 also, or was that someone else?
I think that's someone else. Yeah, because he worked on Tenet. I never went and saw Tenet. I didn't. It looked like something I wouldn't like, so I just never went and saw it. Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm sure it's great.
I'm gonna have to watch it at some point.
Yeah. What's holding us back?
The guy does just wonders with action.
He does things. He reinvents the game.
Yeah.
I like
he made Batman feel realistic.
That's true. He changed the game. Every time that guy does a movie, it feels like he changes the game a little bit. So, just one of those things. Well, it's your turn to do an underrated movie.
Okay, and my third underrated is a movie called Wind River.
I've never heard of that.
It's on Netflix. It features Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen, and they're basically like Jeremy Renner's kind of like a game warden type thing.
Okay.
For like a place, I think it was Alaska, but basically it's involving like a guy killing Native American women on the reservation. So like the reservation kind of has an issue with like missing people reports, not having like a whole database for it. Well, then another person from the FBI, Elizabeth Olsen, she's like an FBI agent, and it's basically them just hunting down like this killer on this reservation. And yeah, it's great. Like, not many people have heard it, not many people have watched it.
I've never heard of it.
It has good reviews.
When did it come out?
It came out in 2017. It has a 7.7 rating on IMDb, so people like it. But yeah, it's basically an FBI agent investigates the murder of Native American women on a reservation. I think it was in Wyoming.
Okay. Well, Wyoming doesn't exist. It doesn't. I've never met someone from Wyoming.
But like I said, 2 really good leads.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Olsen, I mean, she's great. Jeremy Renner, in my opinion, one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. Like,
hot take.
Not because of the Avengers, I'm not saying that, but like he's been in some really good projects, like solo projects. The Hurt Locker, yeah. Wind River, he was really good in. You got I just blanked out on what I was gonna say. The movie The Town. He got an Oscar nomination for The Town.
Never heard of that.
It's basic. It's like a bank robbery film.
Okay.
And it's directed by Ben Affleck. It's directed and led by Ben Affleck. I thought it was really good.
Oh, well, you're the guy, man.
I definitely would recommend it. But yeah, Jeremy Renner, my opinion, one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood.
It's fair. Well, not at the moment because Hawkeye is coming out on the weekly.
Yeah, like he's
I've not watched
like
that.
beloved, but people don't associate Jeremy Renner with being a good actor. They associate him with being like, oh, he's a great action movie actor. No, he's a good actor.
Yeah, well, The Hurt Locker it's a tough movie to watch, but it's good. But yeah, tell you, he's in some good stuff. I haven't seen it, and that I'd be willing to bet you're right, or maybe you're not.
But I am.
But he is.
All right, Gabe. How about you? What's your third underrated movie?
I wouldn't necessarily declare it a dude movie, but A Star Is Born in 2018. That kicks ass.
That's with Bradley Cooper and
Lady Gaga.
I heard it's really good.
It's really, really, really good. Like, when you think of some of the most emotional movies I've ever seen, it's up there. And it's one of those things where you watch it and the soundtrack is amazing on it.
Yeah, like I heard that Bradley Cooper had like no experience in music before that, and it baffles me like how well he did.
You listen to some of it?
I've heard heard the music because it'll play it on the radio, but I haven't seen the movie. But yeah, like I didn't know Bradley Cooper could sing.
Even his solo songs where only he sings, I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. It's a little generic, but it's a movie. I like it. I really think, like, granted, she was on American Horror Story, Lady Gaga was, and she was really, really good in that. But she's pretty damn good in this movie.
Like, she's established herself as a actress.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You talk about who she was in like 2009, 2010, and she was weird. Like, do you remember like the meat dress she wore?
Yeah.
She was really out there.
Like, I think she has an Academy Award.
She has an Oscar. She was nominated for an Oscar for A Star Is Born.
I was about to say, didn't she win also?
I think she won Best Original Song.
Here, I need to search that up because I know she was nominated. I don't know if she won.
What I really like about this movie is because of the soundtrack and because she's in it, you might get the impression that it's a musical of sorts, and it's not. It's the music adds to it for sure, but that's not the focus. The focus is on a relationship.
You could say it's kind of like a Footloose. Like, Footloose isn't a musical.
Right.
It's a movie. It's a movie with music at like the centerpiece.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's a movie about music, not a movie with music.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where when I think of movies that I really didn't think I'd like, because I'm a dude. I like punching things and blood and whatever. But yeah, A Star Is Born. Great movie. You should watch it, Preston.
I'll have to give it a watch at some point.
I cannot speak highly enough of it. It's smoking on one of my top 5s.
Okay. Well, do you have any honorable mentions?
An honorable mention... Well, I'd like to say Logan's pretty underrated.
How did I know that movie was going to be referenced today?
I really like Hugh Jackman, obviously. But that movie, to me... Like, when people think of the best superhero movies, it's never on there. It's never on there. Because it's such a departure from, like, the classic superhero movies. And, like, you watch it, and it's a Western. It kind of feels like, you know how The Mandalorian is a Western, but with Star Wars?
Yeah,
this is a Western with the Wolverine. It's a Western. This is a Western movie.
You know how I said there were, like, I couldn't remember going to the movie theater for a lot of movies? Mm-hmm. Remember, I did go to the movies for Logan. And, yeah, it was...
Bawl your eyes out?
I didn't bawl my eyes out.
Me neither,
This was kind of before I was, like, really into superhero movies. So I didn't have, like, the emotional connection to Wolverine. I'm like, oh, he dead.
Fun fact, that movie came out on my birthday.
Oh, so you got to see Wolverine die on your birthday.
I didn't go see it. I wasn't much into the Wolverine, and then like over the summer, I just had some weird connection, and I must have saw that movie about 20 times in the span of 2 months.
Kind of sounds like me with Marvel. Like, I wasn't a big Marvel fan till like the summer of like my senior year of high school. Like, I was already graduated. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch Iron Man. And then it turned into like, okay, I'm going to continue to watch these. And then I was obsessed with it.
Isn't it funny how you just latch onto those things? It's so weird.
It's like, then I watched Endgame and I'm like, oh my God.
It's so hard to... Yeah. I tell you, it's funny the characters and the people that they just write and you feel like they're a part of you.
It's like, because I watched Spider-Man's, like the original Spider-Man's, because of course it's Spider-Man. I was a Spider-Man fan growing up. But it's like, never watched Marvel before that. Yeah, let's just say I was connected pretty fast.
He was on some speed, man.
Just a joke, Mom. Just a joke.
What's in that drink, Preston?
It's water.
It is water. My other honorable mention, I was going to say Iron Man 3. I feel like it gets a lot of hate. I actually like it. I think it's good. I think people don't like it because it's different. People don't like what's different, Preston.
I think it was pretty mid, if I'm being honest.
Well, you're mid. You're mid.
Well, they say I live in the Midwest.
Okay, that's enough. What do you got? What are you smoking on?
So, my honorable mentions are The Crow. You know what The Crow is?
Oh, with Brendan
Lee?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not
talked about enough.
I never watched it.
Like,
I really want to watch it.
It's so good.
What is it about? Is he like a hero or?
He's kind of like a ghost, and he's. So basically, he was like, him and like his girlfriend or wife, I can't remember which one it was exactly, were killed by these people. So now he just like kills murderers, like the people like responsible for killing his wife.
Okay.
In him, but because like he's like dead, he's a ghost. Here, I'll bring up like what the actual thing is, because it's kind of hard to explain.
Okay.
So basically, a man who's brutally murdered comes back to life as an undead avenger of his fiance of him and his fiance's murderer. And basically, yeah, it's just him like coming back from the dead and killing people.
Oh my goodness.
It's great.
Sounds pretty great.
It kind of gives you like a goth, edgy vibe, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, because he has the eyeliner. I always remember that shot of him with like the eyeliner.
Yeah, and like
smoky eye.
Like he died during filming.
Yeah, it's his only movie he ever made.
Yeah, like he was,
or one of them.
Like, he was shot on set, like from a misfire, kind of like the Alec Baldwin situation, except this time it was the actor getting shot.
I really want to watch this movie now.
Oh,
I always want to watch it, and I just haven't gotten to it.
That's what we can watch after this, because it's on Paramount Plus.
Is it?
I have Paramount Plus. Yes.
Well, I might be in on that. I might be in. We should rock. You want a Rochambeau for Megamind or The Crow?
Why not both?
You are a bold man for that.
Okay, and then another honorable mention I have is Chef. You know what Chef is?
Oh, with
Jon Favreau?
Yeah, and Robert Downey Jr.
I love
makes
that
an
movie.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau, Scarlett Johansson, RDJ, like Sofia Vergara. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like a simple movie, but it was a movie I just really enjoyed.
I like
it's kind of an uplifting. It's like an uplifting like comedy, and I just loved it. Plus, those Cubans looked hella good.
I think about those. Sometimes all I think about is Cubans. Those Cuban sandwiches looked unbelievable. I remember watching that. I'm like, God damn, do I want to eat that?
But yeah, it's like, I just love the movie. It's just a fun watch. It's not like deep or anything like that. It's just a fun watch. Like, if I'm just looking to get in a good mood, just turn that movie on.
I actually think that this movie talks about how Jon Favreau made the second Iron Man, and they panned him for it because they said it was shitty. So I think this story is about him regaining his footing to be something better.
I could see that.
That's a bold take. That's what I've always thought it meant.
And then my third honorable mention, which is my final honorable mention, I've got The Marriage Story.
I wouldn't say it's underrated at all.
It's underrated.
I wouldn't say it is at all.
It won Oscars, but it's like The Prestige. Not many people talk about it.
We talk about it.
And it's only a 7.7 on IMDb.
No, that's shocking to me.
That is criminal. It should be at least an 8.3.
I was watching that with my mom, and she'd go, I'm like, you knocked that off over there.
Like, the acting in this movie is so flippin' good.
It is.
Scarlett Johansson's amazing. Adam Driver's amazing. Like, Adam Driver is especially amazing.
He's a
should have won an
stud.
Oscar. Don't get me started on that. Adam Driver should have multiple Oscars by now. But that's a conversation for another day. But it's like, yeah, The Marriage Story, great. It's not a bro movie. It's like kind of like a guilty pleasure movie. But yeah, it's underrated.
Ain't no such thing as a guilty pleasure movie when it comes to movies.
You're kind of right. I don't like hide that. I embrace the guilty pleasures.
Yeah, I talked about A Star Is Born. Don't even. 2018, I should say, because there's another one. I forgot to mention that, but oh well.
Wait, you got another thing to mention?
No,
Okay.
I don't. Do you want to say one overhated movie real quick?
I think we should do that to end it,
Okay.
because I kind of want to go on a little rant about that. Okay, so should we just get right into the overrated? Do you want me to go first or you? Because this one might
I'm having
make some people upset.
I'm having a carrot eating ASMR session. I was looking at my carrots. I'm like, they look so yummy.
Bro, don't do that into the mic. No one wants to hear that.
I know. Yummy carrot.
All right, I'll let you go first since you're just wanting to eat during the podcast.
Okay. All right. Let me eat this carrot. You're not giving me enough time here. Let me chew it and swallow it. You're so mean for this.
That's the point.
So rude. All right. How wooed? That was a great Jar Jar Binks. How wooed? Anywho, you might dislike me for this. The original Spider-Man trilogy, overrated as hell. Oh my, I don't like it.
Shut your dirty mouth.
No, it's not that good. Rewatched him. The acting in there is so goofy.
It's not that good. It's not the greatest
It's
acting.
so unintentional.
But it's
funny.
good. They're good movies, except for 3.
I don't know. Tobey
Three-
Maguire gives like the most manic performance I've ever seen.
I mean, you know my opinion on MJ in those movies?
Kirsten Dunst,
Oh.
mid.
Lower than mid.
No.
I hated her in these movies. She just screams the whole time.
She plays the Finn role.
Except instead of yelling, Ray, she just screams at the top of her lungs. It's like, I hate it.
She's not good. I don't like her.
But it's like, the villains are just so good.
They're so campy. But I not in a bad way. I like the villains.
Defoe, amazing.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Amazing. Like,
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Yeah, I don't think it's not the villains I take exception to. It's the fact it's just a constant, like, things are said so weirdly and the dialogue is weird. It's a goddamn meme-a-thon. You watch this movie,
it's kind of like
meme,
it's kind of like the prequels.
like think of how
Except
disjointed.
with better dialogue. As bad as that sounds.
It's kind of funny because that's why I think the prequels are so memeable, is because their dialogue is so damn disjointed.
I can agree.
It's so funny.
I can agree with you on like the dialogues can be cringy at times, but I still love the movies.
It's like, you'll get your rent when you fix this damn door. Like, okay.
Plus, like Bully Maguire was kind of funny.
Bully Maguire is funny.
I'm gonna kick some dirt in your eye.
It's so I don't know. I went back and watched it and I just didn't care for it. I didn't really think it was that special. Which maybe back then it was, but I just didn't like it.
It kind of launched off the superhero genre. Like X-Men kind of was like, kind of nudged it. But X-Men's not as big as name as Spider-Man. Spider-Man just kind of like Spartan kicked the genre into action.
Right, this is superhero movies. And then they did it.
So let's be honest, Spider-Man, the best superhero, and I think the most popular superhero.
That's tough now.
I still think he's still the most popular.
We'll see after Batman comes out.
Yeah,
I think that movie is going to be good.
That's the thing. The Batman's coming out, but it's kind of squeezed in between Far From Home and the new Spider-Verse movie.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think the Batman's going to be so good just because...
I'm so excited. Paul Dano.
It's finally gone.
It has Paul freaking Dano. I love Paul Dano.
Here's what I hope, is that Christopher Nolan's Batman was realistic and kind of gripping. I hope this one kind of is like a gothic sort of horror-ish.
I think it's kind of what it is.
That's
because you
kind of
look at him like he's not like a super ripped Batman. He's kind of like,
he's scary.
He's like a scary, creepy looking Batman who kicks the shit out of people. Like, doesn't hold up. Like, Batman would just kind of throw a little, like, sucker punch you in the face and you'd be done. Nah, the first clip we got of this guy, he just, like, knocked a guy out and then start kicking the shit out of him even more.
I think it's going to be good. I hope that movie
I've been waiting for the Riddler. I love the Riddler. And to hear that he's going to be like a Zodiac type serial killer who leaves, like, riddles all over the place, I love it.
I hope it... Here's the thing. My brother and I talked about this. Is that they should use Batman more as a detective rather than...
Which I think they're also going to do.
Well, you think, and then you go there, and suddenly Ant-Man's fighting the lizard.
This will show you how excited I am. The Riddler's my screensaver.
Dude. All right. Well,
like, you can't say that poster doesn't hype
all
you
in.
up.
You're like, why can't I find a girlfriend? You're like, where are they? Where are all the good women?
All right, you want me to hop into my first overrated film?
I think it's appropriate.
So I'm also going to talk about Spider-Man. But I'm going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man.
I haven't seen that. I never saw that one.
Don't know why. TikTok is good for a lot of things, but it's pretty bad for a lot of things. And there are people trying to tell me that The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 are the best Spider-Man movies. No. They're the two worst Spider-Man movies. Like... Andrew Garfield, is good. Emma Stone is good. Nothing else about these movies is good, if I'm being honest.
I've never seen them. I thought it was stupid that they made Spider-Man 3 in 2007, and then 5 years later they made a new reboot Spider-Man.
A reboot, yeah. It's like I said, Andrew Garfield's good in this movie. Emma Stone's good in this movie, but that's kind of about it.
Okay.
Like, you made Jamie Foxx a nerd.
Jamie Foxx is cool. He ain't a nerd.
Jamie Foxx is cool. You can't make him like a nerdy dude. Science. Like, nah, that's not Jamie. That's not a Jamie Foxx character.
I agree.
Jamie Foxx is like supposed to be like the coolest guy in Hollywood, and you made him like one of the dweebiest characters I've seen in movies.
They had to nerf him somehow, but they nerfed him too much.
The Green Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Don't even get me started. That was bad. The Rhino, bad. Like, there's not a
mid.
Like, no, it's not mid.
The Rhino.
That's a complicate for him.
Mid.
But it's like, I just don't like those movies.
You can see the rage in his eyes right now.
Like, I saw someone. It's better than Homecoming. Not even close.
Homecoming is just okay for me.
For me, Homecoming is a top 4 Spider-Man movie.
Well, what is it competing against? Goddamn Tobey Maguire.
1, 2, Spider-Verse. Those are the only 3 above it.
Spider-Verse is... Yeah,
Spider-Verse is
guess.
the best Spider-Man.
I have no disagreement there. Your heart, you have an erection for Spider-Man.
See, I like Spider-Man the way you like Wolverine.
Yeah, I just connect to it for whatever reason. Don't know why.
But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man, overrated. At one point, it was kind of overhated. Like, people were just completely dogging on it like they do with a couple other superhero movies. But no, TikTok has made it hella underrated.
I don't like when TikTok gets on that.
TikTok's like, oh, it's so good. Like, Andrew Garfield, he's good, and that's about it. But it's still a great movie. Like, no. The death of Gwen Stacy's supposed to be, like, a huge event in the comics.
Spoiler.
It feels so...
Spoiler.
Everyone knows that it dies.
I haven't seen it yet.
You've seen the memes.
I haven't seen any... What?
Oh, you're full of shit. You've definitely seen the meme where she hits the ground and just goes dead.
It is rather funny. Admittedly, I've seen that. I mean, that's kind of funny.
It's like the death felt so forced. so forced. Like, they were foreshadowing it in the first movie. I hate it. It's like, nah, it should have been like, you like completely saw it coming within the first 15 minutes of the movie, and that's not something you should be able to tell when she dies in the next movie. And you know how you can prove that's a bad movie? They canceled the third one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was bad.
I never saw it, so I don't have an opinion on it. I'm gonna probably try and make time to take time to watch this garbage movie. Hopefully, sometime.
Like I said, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, it's not that bad. Like, it's kind of just But 2, I despise 2 with all my heart.
Wow. This is a man that's not full of hatred, folks. He has a lot of love.
I'm full of hatred for this movie.
Oh my.
Nothing else, though.
Hate leads to anger. Well, I'm going to dive into a movie I think is overrated. Bit of a franchise, too. But Jurassic Park, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, oh, they have one good movie. They have one.
Jurassic World was pretty good.
It was okay. It felt like it was...
I can kind of agree with you. Like, I love the first Jurassic Park. Everything else...
Second one's, like, okay. Third one is off the rails.
I will say, though, I might have to watch the new one coming out. Because they're completely, like, revamping the story of Jurassic Park. Like, you know how it's like, oh, they go to an island, and, ooh, the dinosaurs take over. Nah, it's going to be, like, a completely new story. It's going to have the original Jurassic Park, like, cast and the Jurassic World cast.
Yeah, I did see Jeff Goldblum.
We're getting Jeff Goldblum back.
As Ian, or Dr. Ian Malcolm. Don't ask me why I knew that. I just did. It also, like, I went back and watched it a couple years ago. It doesn't hold up as well as you would think.
Well, I mean, it was made in the 80s. And
90s.
Or 90s, and it's completely CGI.
They're animatronics.
It's like, part of that movie I do love, though, where they have the pile of shit, and he walks up to it, and he's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a giant mound of dinosaur crap.
I do think that part's funny. Here's the thing, is Jurassic Park plays on the fact that we as a society are like, dinosaurs are cool.
It's like
and they are. I'm not saying they're not.
I think every, like, boy growing up was like, I love dinosaurs. Like, I had a dinosaur phase.
If your man hasn't gone through a dino phase by the age of 20, it's coming. Believe it or not, I had a late stage dinosaur phase. I was 16 in high school when mine hit. I want to know everything about dinosaurs.
It's like, there's a reason I wanted to become an archaeologist when I was a kid.
Because you want to be Indiana Jones.
I wanted to be Indiana Jones, and I love dinosaurs.
You're like, the land of the lost Stegosaurus.
Like, yeah, I was all into archaeology. I'm like, yeah, I could be Indiana Jones and searching for dinosaur bones.
Dinosaurs are so cool. I feel like we as a society have been treated to a lot of cool CGI stuff that seeing a dinosaur doesn't wow us the way it once did. Like, yeah, I've seen Thanos' army take on Hulk, and wow,
I saw Josh Brolin turn into a realistic looking, gigantic, like 8-foot tall purple rip dude.
Nutsack guy. Yeah, and that's why I'm like, well, at the time, probably blew the people's freaking minds, man.
It's like watching an old Star Wars movie, except, like,
Star Wars still holds up, man.
Star Wars still holds up.
That's
like,
what's amazing.
The CGI might look not as good anymore. I don't care.
Well, that's part of it.
It's like the movie was made in, like, the mid-70s. It's not supposed to look good nowadays.
Yeah, it's made almost 50 years. 50?
It's like, people like vintage stuff. That's like the definition of going back and watching something vintage.
And maybe that's why I don't like Jurassic Park, is because it's somewhere in that weird sort of zone where it's not quite vintage, but not quite new.
I will say one thing, though. This is something you just can't deny. The soundtrack. Peak.
John Williams, baby. What about
do
it?
do 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 do.
It's a dinosaur. It is. It's a dino. Dinosaurs are so cool.
Okay, I kind of, like you, I kind of have a hot take now next.
What's that?
I've got Joker.
I kind of have to agree.
It's like,
you know what?
It's like based off of like the DC Comics Joker, but it's not the Joker.
Well, it's a character that calls himself the Joker.
And it's made by DC Comics, but it's like, it's not comic accurate whatsoever.
Which
like,
I like about it, but at the same time,
it's like it's so far away from what the Joker actually is.
You
I
could've
couldn't get over it.
I agree.
Like the Joker is supposed to be like, yeah, an evil menace, like maniac, but he's also supposed to be like a really smart guy, always getting the edge on Batman and all the other like DC superheroes. But no, this guy's just a freak. Like
Imagine
crazy.
if they called the movie like The Clown. Like you wouldn't know this was DC's The Joker.
Like the only reference to really DC that we got in there was Bruce Wayne in
just the Waynes in general.
Thomas Wayne. Like yeah.
I agree.
You don't reference those. It's just a movie about a mentally ill clown.
That's where I agree.
Don't get me wrong, the acting in it is amazing.
It's not a bad movie, but people act like it's
Plus,
I'm
not gonna lie,
religion.
it's kind of boring at parts. Like it gets kind of slow. Like like I remember watching it. I'm like, okay. I was kind of hyped for it. I'm like, everyone hypes this up. I remember watching. I'm like, bro, this is kind of boring. Like the acting is good, and I'm not like one of those that has to always be action for it to be boring. Like I just thought it was boring. I didn't see what all the hype was. Like, definitely shouldn't have got a Best Picture nod, in my opinion. But definitely Best Leading Actor. I can see that, because
he carries the movie.
Phoenix was great in this.
Mm-hmm.
I liked De Niro's character. He was pretty cool. But other than that, I just didn't enjoy it all that much.
I went and saw that with my brother, and I remember my brother sitting on the edge of his seat, and I'm like, please don't be influenced by this. Like, I'm Caleb's Murray. He's like, want to hear another joke, Gabriel? I think I've had enough of your jokes for the night, Caleb.
But like I said, it's not the Joker, I think. It's a guy pretending to be the Joker.
It's just,
I
would have liked this movie far better if they didn't call it the Joker.
Yeah.
Because it is about the Joker, don't get me wrong. But like I said, you could call this movie something else. I would think it'd be a great movie. But it's just...
You know what it
so
feels?
weird.
You know what it kind of feels like to me? You know, in The Dark Knight, when there's those people that dress up as Batman in the beginning, we're just trying to help you, and he's like, I don't wear hockey pads. It's like one of those being the lead and calling it and calling it
I
Batman.
see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like they claim themselves to be Batman, but they're not really Batman because they're not. It's like because they're so far from what Batman actually is. Like to me, that's just what the Joker feels like. He's a guy that dresses up like Joker and claims to be Joker, but he's just so far from what the character actually was made, how it was made, and how he is in the comics and every other movie, that it just doesn't feel like the Joker. He just feels like a clown with, like I said, mental health issues.
Again, if the movie wasn't called The Joker, I would think of it as a lot better. Yeah. I think it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. People act like it's like a top 10 movie all time.
He's the best Joker ever. He's the third best Joker ever.
That's hot. I think we should...
Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson is so much better as the Joker.
That's true. Like, do you want to grade performances as someone playing the Joker, or you know what I mean?
Do you want a great performance of a person playing the Joker?
I just don't think it's the Joker, you know? And that's where I'm like, oh, I agree with that. That's one of the only good takes you've ever had.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Nice backhanded compliment.
So good at it. So good at those.
All right, Gabe, I'll let you hop into the next one.
You know, this one, some people might say, I agree with you, Gabriel. Some people might say, you know, I disagree, Gabriel. I think you're wrong on this one. Mad Max. I think it's overrated.
See, I haven't seen Mad Max, but I've heard and I know how people talk about it. It's like a religious experience.
They're like, oh, it's so different and weird. I'm like, it's a sequel to a movie that already came out. I'm like, it's not new. It's just new to you. So one of my biggest ones is that it's clunky. It just feels clunky because Tom Hardy, I remember reading this, he thought this movie was going to suck, so he just kind of half-assed it, and it shows. They're like, oh, no, that's so brilliant. I'm like, no, he's half-assing his job, and why do we like it? Why do we even like... I don't know. I remember watching it and just being overall, like, thought it's a weird movie, don't get me wrong, and I don't dislike it because it's weird.
So is this Mad Max or Mad Max Fury Road?
Fury Road, I should say.
Okay. So I know there's two of them.
Specification.
So I don't know which one you were talking about. I'm like, okay, which one is that again?
No, I saw the original Mad Maxes with Mel Gibson. I should clarify. Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road with Tom Hardy is... It's just overrated. People think it's a spectacular movie. And really, to be honest, this is a bold take for me. I don't see it as being too terribly different from Aquaman.
See, I haven't seen Aquaman either.
I like Aquaman. Out of all the DC movies, I kind of FW.
My favorite was Shazam.
I never saw that one. Like, why would I have seen that? Why would I? Preston, what is an overrated movie that you have that you want to talk about?
So to top off my list, I got Space Jam, the original Space Jam. People will put it in their top 10 sports movies of all time. It's not even close. The movie's not good.
It's remembered way better than...
Like, I remember my first time watching, I'm like, this is what people call a top 10 sports movie of all time. Like, it's probably not in my top 20.
See, I like Space Jam.
I did not like Space Jam.
Have you seen the new one?
I have. I thought it was better. And that's just not me being like, oh, I think LeBron's the GOAT over Jordan. No, I legit thought this new Space Jam was better. Like, it's just, like, it starts out with Michael Jordan. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to Michael Jordan's house. And it's just like a normal house in the suburbs. It's like, it's Michael Jordan. He was living in a mega mansion at this point.
He's like, oh, I'm just living in the cul-de-sac like you normal folk.
It's like he was like living in like the definition of like a middle class house. It's like, nah, that's Michael Jordan. One, he'd be living in a mansion. Two, it's like the CGI is bad. The acting is...
Well, it was the 80s. Things were weird.
The acting was so bad.
Well, it's Michael Jordan. He's not an actor. It's not Michael B. Jordan.
Neither is LeBron James, but LeBron James was better. Like, I did not like it.
Yeah, because he's always flopping. Le actor. Le fraud. Le flopper.
I would say I just didn't really enjoy it all that much. I thought the acting was cringy. I thought the CGI was bad. I did like the Looney Tunes characters in it. Like, they did pretty well, but it's pretty hard to mess up the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, they're very distinct, I would say.
Like, I thought if they were going to do a new Space Jam, they should have did it with a different sport.
That's a bold idea. Like Tom Brady. They asked Tom Brady to sling passes.
Like Tom Brady, or hey, we're going to go get Connor McDavid and make a hockey Space Jam.
No one watches hockey.
Or, hey, a baseball Space Jam. Like, we're going to take Mike Trout. Like, I think they should have went to a different sport.
They'd take Shohei Ohtani.
Or, we're going to go get Messi and make a soccer Space Jam.
They should have did that. They should have did that over LaFraud. You're getting pressed.
Bruh. Don't talk about the king like that.
Wow. I gotta say Jordan's better. I say Jordan's better.
Well, good thing this is a movie podcast. We'd be like Skip Bayless and frickin'
Skip.
We'd be like Skip and frickin' Stephen A.
Stephen A. And his first move as general manager of the Knicks was to sign Lamar Odom, Who was on crack?
But yeah, I just didn't think it was good. It might have been just me, but like garbage. The one part I did like where Michael Jordan's playing baseball and he's in the minors.
Yeah.
And he's just like booty and he's like, you know what, F this, I'm just gonna go back to basketball.
He's like, I'm gonna go play basketball with Bugs Bunny and Lola Bunny.
Are you a Lola Bunny simp?
No.
Cap.
I will neither confirm nor deny these claims.
All right, Gabe, do you have any more overrated movies to talk about?
I have two honorable mentions that didn't make the list. The Matrix, a little overrated. I like The Matrix, but some of the things they did back then, they overdo now, to the point where I'm like, whoa, yeah, that's not really special. But it was special back then.
Yeah, like, the movie is great.
Bullet time. They're like, oh, bullet time. The movie is complex.
Red pill or blue pill?
It's a very philosophy-laden movie.
Okay, so I'm going to go into my first honorable mention. I started a fight in class over this opinion one time. Friends. Not a movie. I don't care. This is my podcast. I'll talk about whatever I want. Friends. I despise Friends.
I like
the
Friends.
humor is so cringy. It's just not funny.
Preston, I'm going to go to my grave thinking that Friends is funny. Because Friends was there for me in 8th grade when no one else was.
It's like, I just don't find it funny. And everyone's like,
well, no one finds you funny,
It's
Preston.
the best sitcom ever. No, it's not even the best sitcom of the 90s.
Oh.
That's Seinfeld.
Fair. Like, well, what would you put above Friends?
For just, like, funny TV shows?
We'll just say sitcoms.
Okay, over sitcoms. Seinfeld, MASH.
MASH is okay.
It's always fun. It's always
okay.
Sunny in Philadelphia.
That's not a sitcom.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't consider it a sitcom.
Golden Girls. I'd put Golden Girls above them. The Office, Parks and Rec, How I Met Your Mother.
I used to like How I Met Your Mother, and now I watch it, and I can't stop thinking about how Ted is awful. Ted Mosby.
What else? I could keep going on. The Brady Bunch.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry that somehow you have tricked yourself into thinking Friends is bad. I like Friends. And I know. That makes me awful for some reason. I don't understand.
I'm not judging you, don't worry.
No, you are.
A little bit.
It's human nature to judge. I just like Friends. I like Joey. I like Phoebe. I like Monica. I like Ross. I like Chandler.
It's like,
I don't like Rachel.
This isn't just a thing. It's like, oh, everyone else likes it, so I'm gonna hate it. I legit tried to get into it. Like, I watched it. I just couldn't.
That was me with Outer Banks. I tried so hard. My friend Taylor Berger, if you're listening, which I know you're not, but I tried to get into Outer Banks. And I watched this. I'm like, this guy is 25 pretending to be 16. What am I supposed to get on that? I don't like it.
You know another sitcom I think's better? Drake and Josh.
I thought you were going to say Big Bang Theory. I'll go to my grave saying Big Bang Theory is not that funny.
First 3 seasons, I'd have to say it is. The first 3 seasons.
Big Bang Theory?
Anything after the Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
I like the first 3 seasons. Everything after that's garbage.
Yeah. Here's my problem with Big Bang Theory is it thinks it's way funnier than it is.
I can agree with that.
That's one of my hot takes.
You know,
I do agree the first 3 seasons.
That's one thing I just hate about sitcoms in general. They always go for too long.
Yeah, they never know when to cut it off.
Like The Office went for too long.
Seinfeld went 1 season too long.
I don't think so. Like they're kind of the one like Jerry Seinfeld was like, nah, we're stopping here because we don't want to go too long.
This is a show about nothing.
I guess MASH didn't go too long.
MASH ended the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, MASH is like one of the few sitcoms that ended at the right time. Parks and Rec, I didn't think ended too late.
The Office, I think, overdid
Office was way too late. Like it should have been done after Michael Scott left. if we're being honest.
If they do not give up power, then they should be removed from television.
Yeah, it's like Big Bang Theory went way too long.
That went way too long.
Like way too long. It's like these networks just need to accept do 4 seasons and be done.
I say once you hit 7 or 8, then
yeah, it's like you get to 4 seasons, you're kind of gonna start falling. Season 5 is gonna be just Season 6 will be and then 7 is just gonna be garbage. Like that's how it always seems to go, no matter the show.
I agree.
How I Met Your Mother, don't even get me started on how that ended.
Again,
that was complete bullshit.
There's a couple of shows where I watch and rewatching them makes them worse to me, and How I Met Your Mother is one of those. I just hate the shit out of Ted. Like, if I was placed, I would kill 1,000 orphans for one free swing at Ted Mosby.
I don't think anyone likes Ted. I like Barney and Jason Segel.
Yeah, I like Marshall.
I love Marshall.
IFW Marshall.
Especially since Marshall is probably the most relatable character for both of us, because he's also been just hurt by the Vikings.
God, I don't know how I can go back after last Sunday. I don't know. I'm going to have to do it 2 days from now, so.
And then I have one more honorable mention. And I have X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, I don't think this movie gets hated on enough. Deadpool is the worst comic book villain I've ever seen in this.
Yeah, it's like if someone described you what Deadpool was like on a secondhand
account. His saying is he's the merc with the mouth, and his mouth's sewn shut. He doesn't have a mouth.
Yeah,
Who thought that was a good idea?
The movie movie tries to be like classic 80s 90s cheese.
And it just comes out
it just doesn't bad. Yeah, it just doesn't work because Hugh Jackman is not that guy.
It has a 6.6 rating. That's way too high. It should be like a 5.
Some of the stuff in it does work. I will admit.
There's some good things about it, but I just can't get over the bad things.
The opening scene in that is actually really cool.
Really good. I agree.
Where it shows him going through war, and you can actually see him kind of falling out of love with it.
Yeah, it's like I loved the first few scenes, but as soon as it was just Deadpool came into frame, it's like, okay, this movie's ruined.
I would have to agree. That last part really mucks it up. One of my honorable mentions, the Avengers, the original Avengers movie. I think it's the same principle as Jurassic Park for me. Of when it first happened, I think people were. I mean, I thought it was a cool movie. It felt like a TV show. You know, whenever I watch it, it feels like a TV show. Yeah,
you know what I think it is? It's kind of like Endgame and Infinity War were just so huge. Is that it almost makes the Avengers like, oh, there's nothing special about it.
You're like, oh, there's an invasion on Earth. Cool.
It's like, because it's like when you first see it, it's like, oh my god. But when you watch Infinity War and Endgame, it's like, oh, well, that's not like that. Kind of just made the Avengers look like
Loki wants to take over the Earth. You're like, seen it? Yeah, I've seen this story a couple times.
I still think it's a really good movie, but I can see where you're coming from with that.
Where it's the awe of it all kind of goes away just because
it's like the MCU has evolved so much when it comes to team ups. It's kind of just like, oh, yeah, it was the original. It did it well. But now it's like they've just made it so much better now.
Yeah.
Like they've evolved.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that. Yeah.
All right, you want to get into the most overhated movies?
I'm just gonna go with one.
Actually, I want to go first. I have one. I have to get this off my chest. Okay. I'm gonna stick on the Marvel front. Captain Marvel is overhated.
I don't know, man.
Like, people act like it's the worst MCU movie. It's not close.
What would you declare as the worst one?
Thor: The Dark World.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's The Incredible Hulk.
I wouldn't consider it part of it, though. The Incredible
Hulk? It's part of it.
No.
It's official MCU canon.
Well, not in my head canon. Head canon.
It's like Black Widow's not as good as it. I didn't think. The Eternals isn't as good as it. It's like, honestly, I don't hate Captain Marvel. I'm not a fan of her portrayal as Captain Marvel. I like Brie Larson. I just don't like the Captain Marvel character all that much because she kind of comes off as ignorant. I don't think there's really a character growth in her movie.
Yeah.
She starts off as ignorant and ends the movie ignorant.
It felt like they tried to make her too Tony Starkish.
Yeah,
right?
She was kind of Tony Stark without the likability.
You know what I mean? Likable. She's not established as like, well, he's like this because he's a billionaire. It's like, well, she's like this because...
And it's like, Tony Stark had character growth in his first movie.
I really think they should have had Angelina Jolie be Captain Marvel.
See, I disagree. I think Brie Larson does a good job, but it's the writing. I don't like the writing. I don't like the writing in it, but I still think it's an overrated movie.
Chicken or the egg? Chicken or the egg?
It's like I love Brie Larson as an actress. Like, she's great.
I know,
but it's it's just no character growth in the movie. She starts the movie off as an overpowered, ignorant person, and I wouldn't say ignorant. I'd say like
cocky.
And she ends the movie as an overpowered cocky. She doesn't really face any real challenges. You know what I mean? Like, in this next movie, I want to see her just get completely destroyed.
Me too, but because not because of anything else.
Not because I'm like a misogynist or anything like that. It just needs to happen for her character growth.
Yeah, she never had her shit kicked in.
Like,
you know?
Like, the only real challenge we've seen her face was when she fought Thanos and got punched out of the movie. And even then, though, like, she had Thanos kind of on the ropes.
Hey, Peter Parker.
And plus, her character, I think the problem with the movie is it was squeezed in
between.
Like, her character kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, she's gonna be in Infinity War. Like, no, we're gonna squeeze her in right after Infinity War, and she's gonna be basically the reason they win an Endgame. It's like, you can't have the biggest payoff in cinematic history with like when it takes like years to establish all these characters,
and then establish a character in 6 months,
and then establish a character in 6 months and have her be the main reason they won.
Fun fact: that movie also came out on my birthday.
Really?
International Women's Day, March 8th. I'm not kidding you. That is actually International Women's Day.
But like I said, I don't hate the movie. I think it's overhated. Like, I think people dog on it too much. They're like, oh, it's the worst Marvel movie. Nah, it's not close.
It's one of the worst.
It's a bottom 8 MCU.
Mid.
It's like it's a bottom 8 MCU movie, but it's not as bad as people say it is. It's kind of boring, but it's also
that first half is a slog.
Yeah, but like the second half of the movie, I enjoyed.
I don't mind that part. I don't mind Samuel L. Jackson in that movie either. But it's kind of weird.
Plus, like, Coulson and Agent Coulson and Nick Fury. Sign me the hell up.
I think it's good.
One thing that does hurt it, though, is it's kind of did the thing with, like, what the MCU has kind of been known to do is just make, like, a boring villain.
Jan Rog. Yeah.
Like,
I couldn't tell you what his name was. I just know it.
I didn't even remember his name. I'm kind of surprised you did. It's like, Jan Rog, don't give a shit about you. I don't care if you appear in any future films. I just don't really care if you ever appear in this.
I can give a rat's ass about Jan Rog.
Yeah, but my rant on Marvel villains is we can discuss that another day.
Another day.
Like Marvel's so hit or miss with their villains.
They really are. My overhated movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You ever heard of Waterworld?
I have not.
So it's Kevin Costner, and the ice caps like melt, and the world is flooded. And they're trying to find land, even though there is none. Except there is. But it was a movie that people went and saw and didn't like it in the theater in like the 90s. But I watched it myself, and I liked the movie. It's called Waterworld, and he has gills. He like grew gills. Evolved. It's really different. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like Mad Max, but with water and not dry land. So it's really different, and I can't I don't expect anyone to say, I love this movie. It's a bit of 90s
It's kind of
cheese.
like it's like Captain Marvel. In a way, it's like it's not going to be anyone's favorite movie, but it's not as bad as what they're saying.
No. I actually certainly liked it quite a bit. There's a bunch of movies out there I really like that some people don't, but I would say Waterworld is up there. Every time I watch Waterworld, I'm like, I can see where maybe people dislike this, but I don't understand how it like bombed at the box office. Like people hated it. Like I don't think it's hateable. I like it. I can see, like I said, where some people dislike it, but not hate it.
Is that all you got to say about it?
All I gotta say.
Okay, Gabe, I'm kind of blindsiding you here, but there's kind of a new thing I want to start at the end of each episode. We recommend a movie to people.
Okay.
Like a movie you might have seen lately. Like, we're not going to deep dive and talk about it. We're just going to say a movie, just like briefly why we think people should watch it. And it could be on like a movie you saw a while ago, like a movie you just saw, just one that you like that you think people should just give it a watch. So I'll go first. And my movie recommendation of the day is War Games. Have you ever seen War Games?
Sounds familiar.
It's like a 1980s sci-fi movie with Matthew Broderick. You know, Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I know who that is.
It's the "Would you like to play a game?" where that comes from.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like a sci-fi thriller from the 1980s, and it's just a movie I recommend you watch.
All right. Well, for the general audience and yourself.
Kind of blindsided you here.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I highly recommend watching the movie Red Dawn from the 80s.
Ooh, I was about to say, which Red Dawn?
It's the 80s. Fun fact, that was the first movie so violent, it created a new rating and thus gave us the rated R movie.
I've seen Red Dawn. I would also recommend that you watch it. Like, It's kind of like outdated now, but it's a fun watch.
It is a fun watch.
It's a typical 80s movie.
I like the fact it's kind of almost a time capsule of Cold War-esque type stuff, type thinking even, so I highly recommend.
Okay, so you heard it here, folks. War Games and Red Dawn. Those are our movie recommendations for the day. You want to sign them off? You want to sign off for the day?
All right. Well, folks, if you made it this far, then clearly you're in it for something. Gold, treasure, love, lust. I can't help you with any of those, but I will say this. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify. People have been hammering the Spotify lately.
Hammering that Spotify.
Yeah,
we just gotta say thank you for that. Like,
yes, thank you. Remember, 100 views gets Gaby to do the WAP dance.
And also, just make sure you share this with your friends. You know, we're trying to grow here. We're kind of like a
underground.
We're definitely underground. Like, we're
two college kids in a dorm.
We're not underground. We're underground.
Like some hipsters are gonna find us. They're like, we liked Pretin and Sexton before they were cool.
Before they were cool.
They're so cool now. We're big then.
And then they'll hate us when we eventually become famous.
Yeah, because they ain't us.
They hate us because they ain't us.
I like that. I like that you knew that. Well, this is Gabriel Sexton saying one final goodbye. Preston, anything you want to say?
Adios.
Adios. Good night and good luck.